Welcome back. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell, and leave a like. Enjoy the video. A man wakes from a coma hearing his wife talking on the phone about his inheritance. He pretends to be dead. A man regained consciousness in the ICU, overhearing his wife discussing his inheritance over the phone. He immediately decided to play dead. Michael walked down a dark, narrow hallway, feeling a sense of oppression with each step. In the distance, a faintly lit door appeared like a beacon. Shadows danced around him, whispering secrets he couldn't understand. Suddenly, a bright flash made him squint, and a loud noise echoed in his ears like distant voices. A deep, booming voice told him he had to return, that his time wasn't over. He felt an invisible force, pushing him forward, pulling him back to the world of the living. Opening his eyes slowly, disoriented and unable to move his muscles, the cold, white light of the hospital room momentarily blinded him. As his senses returned, Michael tried to remember how he got there. Happy and painful memories mixed in his mind, creating a confusing tangle of images. Gradually, he began to recognize familiar sounds around him. The constant beeping of machines, the muted murmurs of voices, and someone speaking nearby. With effort, Michael turned his head slightly and listened intently. It was his wife, Lisa, whose voice he had loved for years but now seemed cold and unfamiliar. Lisa was speaking on the phone, her tone confidential and calculating. "Yes, the inheritance will be ours soon," Lisa said. "We just have to wait a little longer. Everything will be in our name. Don't worry, James. Michael isn't going to wake up." Michael's heart stopped for a moment. Betrayal and pain washed over him. The woman he believed loved him, with whom he had shared his life, was plotting his demise for his inheritance. He felt a wave of anger and despair, but also an unexpected clarity. He had to pretend to remain unconscious. He needed to uncover the whole truth and protect what was his. As the conversation continued, Michael knew his decision was correct. Lisa and her lover, James, were scheming to take everything he had built. The pain and disappointment were overwhelming, but Michael found a spark of determination within him. He wouldn't let them get away with it. While feigning unconsciousness, Michael watched every detail and listened to every word. He knew he had to stay alert and strong to face what was coming. Lisa's betrayal was a devastating blow, but also a call to action. Finally, Lisa hung up the phone and approached Michael's bed, feigning a concern he now knew was false. She stroked his forehead and whispered comforting words. Michael maintained his facade, fighting the urge to confront her right then. He needed time and a plan. With a wounded heart but a clear mind, Michael prepared for the long road ahead. The battle for his life, his inheritance, and his dignity had just begun. Lisa visited Michael in the ICU every day, always with a worried expression on her face. But now aware of her betrayal, Michael saw beyond her act. He noticed how her eyes gleamed with a coldness that had previously gone unnoticed. Lisa made sure all the medical equipment was functioning correctly, and occasionally whispered words of affection in his ear. But Michael no longer found comfort in her voice. He only sensed falsehood and calculation. One day, while Lisa was next to his bed, her phone rang. Michael tensed, anticipating another revealing conversation. Live time. Lisa looked around to ensure no one was nearby, and answered in a low but hurried tone. "Hello, James," she said, her voice filled with a warmth she never used with Michael. "Yes, I've talked to the lawyer. Everything is in order. We just need to wait a bit longer." Michael felt a sharp pain in his chest. James wasn't just a lover. He was also his business partner, someone he had trusted blindly. Hearing his name in that context made the betrayal even deeper. He struggled to stay still, fighting the anger and pain that threatened to give him away. Yes, darling," Lisa continued. "Once Michael is no longer an issue, we can proceed with the transfer. There will be no problem. Everything will be in our name." Michael closed his eyes tightly, trying to control the flood of emotions. He felt a mix of rage, sadness, and renewed determination. He had to stay strong and keep listening to every word Lisa said. Each piece of information was crucial to forming his plan. Lisa ended the call and, as if nothing had happened, turned to Michael with a tender smile. "Everything is going to be fine, love," she said softly, caressing his hand. "You'll get better soon." Michael remained motionless, focused on his breathing. He knew he had to keep pretending and continue gathering information. Each visit from Lisa was an opportunity to discover more and refine his plan. The following days were an emotional torture. Lisa kept visiting, always with that mask of concern, while Michael listened to her secret conversations with James. Every word, every gesture, reinforced Michael's conviction that he had to do something to stop them. One morning, as the sun gently filtered through the room curtains, Lisa entered with a look of genuine concern, or so it seemed. Michael wondered how much of her performance was real and how much was pure manipulation. Lisa sat beside his bed and took his hand. "Love, the doctor says you need time, but I know you're strong. I know you'll get through this." Michael looked at her through half-closed eyelids, feeling a mixture of disgust and sadness. The woman he had once loved and trusted completely was now a stranger, a traitor. That same afternoon, when Lisa left the room, Michael had a moment of introspection. He remembered the good times, the happy moments they had shared. But now those memories were tainted by betrayal. He had to stay strong for himself and for everything he had built. Determined not to let sadness overcome him, Michael began to plan his next move. He needed allies, people he could trust. He knew that Rebecca, the doctor, might be one of those people. With renewed determination, Michael prepared for what lay ahead. He knew the battle had just begun, and that he had to be ready to face Lisa and James with all the strength and cunning he could muster. Dr. Rebecca visited Michael regularly, checking his vital signs and ensuring he was comfortable. She was a dedicated and observant woman, and gradually she began to notice small changes in Michael. Subtle movements, like a blink that seemed more conscious, or a slight movement of his fingers aroused her suspicions. One afternoon, while adjusting Michael's monitors, Rebecca noticed his eyes following her movements. It was a minimal but significant change. She decided to stay a few minutes longer, observing discreetly. "Michael," she said softly, almost a whisper, "if you can hear me, move a finger." There was a moment of tense silence, and then, to her astonishment, Michael's index finger moved slightly. Rebecca felt a surge of emotion and relief. She knew she had to handle this situation carefully. From that moment on, Rebecca began visiting Michael more frequently, observing his responses to simple stimuli. With each visit, her suspicions were further confirmed. Michael was conscious, trapped in his own body. One afternoon, while reviewing his medical history, Rebecca decided to speak directly to Michael. She approached his bed and leaned in, so her words wouldn't be heard by the monitors or potential eavesdroppers. "Michael, I know you can hear me. If you're conscious, I need you to give me a sign." With visible effort, Michael managed to move his finger again. Rebecca smiled. "A smile full of hope, Michael. I'm going to help you, Michael, but you need to trust me." Days later, while Lisa was away, Rebecca took advantage of a moment of privacy to have a deeper conversation with Michael. "I've noticed you react to my questions," she said, keeping her voice low. "I'm going to ask you some questions, and if the answer is yes, move your finger. If it's no, do nothing." Michael, with renewed strength, moved his finger to indicate he understood. She began asking him about his condition, and finally about his situation with Lisa. With each movement of his finger, Michael told her his story of betrayal and pain. Rebecca felt a mix of indignation and compassion. "Don't worry, Michael. I won't tell anyone. We're going to get you out of this, but you need to recover first. I'll keep your secret." From that moment on, Rebecca became his silent ally. She started changing Michael's routine, introducing small exercises to strengthen his muscles without raising suspicion. Every day, Rebecca and Michael communicated more efficiently, developing a code to exchange crucial information. Meanwhile, Emily, the young nurse, continued providing emotional care to Michael. Although she was unaware of Michael's conscious state, her words of encouragement and constant presence gave him strength to keep going. Lisa kept visiting Michael, unaware that her husband was conscious of every one of her movements and conversations. Her cold and calculating attitude became increasingly evident to Michael, who used these moments to strengthen his determination. One day, while adjusting Michael's IV, Rebecca leaned in and whispered, "I'm investigating how we could expose Lisa and James. I need time to gather solid evidence. Trust me, Michael. We're going to make this happen." With that promise, Michael felt renewed hope. He knew he wasn't alone in this fight, and that with Rebecca's help, he could confront Lisa and James. The silent alliance between Michael and Rebecca grew stronger each day, preparing for the confrontation that would change their lives forever. The relationship between Michael and Rebecca had strengthened over time. Rebecca had proven to be a trustworthy ally, and Michael trusted her completely. As his strength increased and his body responded better, Michael knew the time to act was approaching. He needed to communicate clearly with Rebecca to devise a detailed plan. One afternoon, when Lisa had left the hospital, Rebecca took the opportunity to have a deeper conversation with Michael. She closed the room's door and approached his bed with a serious but hopeful expression. "Michael," she said softly, "we need to talk about how to proceed. If you're ready, give me a clear sign." Michael, with visible effort, moved his finger firmly. Rebecca nodded and began explaining her plan. "First, we must ensure Lisa and James don't suspect anything. I'll continue to maintain the appearance that you're unconscious while we discreetly gather evidence against them." She showed Michael the financial and legal records she had found, which contained irregularities that could be used as evidence. She had also recorded some of Lisa's conversations when she thought she was alone. "I have some recordings and documents that could incriminate them," Rebecca said, "but we need more solid evidence to ensure they can't escape the consequences." Michael listened attentively, his heart pounding. He moved his finger to indicate he understood and agreed with the plan. Rebecca continued, "I'm going to contact a trustworthy lawyer. We need someone who can handle this discreetly and ensure your inheritance and businesses are protected." With each passing day, Michael and Rebecca refined their plan. Rebecca had contacted the lawyer who agreed to help without revealing Michael's true condition. Together, they started preparing for the confrontation that would expose Lisa and James. Meanwhile, Emily, unaware of Michael's conscious state, continued to provide emotional support. Her regular visits and attentive care gave Michael respite amid the storm. One morning, while Lisa was out, Rebecca brought the lawyer to Michael's room. "Michael," Rebecca said softly, "this is the lawyer who will help us. We need your confirmation to proceed." The lawyer, a middle-aged man with a keen and understanding look, approached Michael. "Sir," he said respectfully, "I'm here to ensure your interests are protected. If you agree, please give a sign." Michael, with a firm and determined look, moved his finger again. The lawyer nodded. "Understanding the gravity of the situation, we'll work together to ensure justice prevails," he promised. Rebecca, the lawyer, and Michael formed a united team with a common goal: to expose Lisa and James and protect what rightfully belonged to Michael. Every step was meticulously planned, every move carefully executed to avoid arousing suspicion. Rebecca and the lawyer began to gather more evidence, including legal and financial documents proving Lisa and James's betrayal. At the same time, Michael continued to strengthen his body, preparing for the day he would finally confront his betrayers. One afternoon, while adjusting Michael's medical equipment, Rebecca whispered, "We're almost ready, Michael. Soon you'll be able to face them. Stay strong." With that promise, Michael found renewed strength. He knew the moment was approaching, and that with Rebecca and the lawyer's help, he could regain his life and protect his legacy. The silent pact between them grew stronger each day, preparing the ground for the confrontation that would change their lives forever. Michael and Rebecca knew that preparation would be key to exposing Lisa and James. Every day was a constant battle to maintain appearances while gathering the necessary information to ensure a decisive confrontation. Rebecca made sure Michael received the medical care needed to speed up his physical recovery without raising suspicion. Rebecca began spending more time at the hospital, using her shifts to meticulously review Michael's medical and financial records. She discovered that Lisa had started transferring small amounts of money from their joint accounts to a private account. These movements revealed Lisa and James's premeditation to seize Michael's inheritance. One afternoon, while Michael was resting, Rebecca met with the lawyer in a hospital conference room. "I found these transfers," Rebecca said, showing the lawyer the documents she had gathered. "We need to collect more evidence and ensure these transactions are tracked." The lawyer nodded. "I'll need access to more financial records. If we can prove Lisa and James are acting with intent to defraud, we'll have a solid case." Back in Michael's room, Rebecca informed him of the progress. "We're making good progress," she said softly. "The lawyer is working on tracing the transactions. We need more time, but we're on the right track." Michael moved his finger to indicate he understood. He knew that each passing day was an opportunity to strengthen his body and mind. He began performing discreet physical exercises under Rebecca's supervision, slowly regaining the strength he had lost during his convalescence. Meanwhile, Lisa continued visiting him regularly, unaware that Michael was conscious and aware of her plans. One morning, as she was talking on the phone with James, Michael heard something that reinforced his determination. "Yes, James," Lisa said. "The lawyer says everything is in order. Soon we can start transferring the properties." Michael felt a mix of anger and determination. He knew time was running out. Lisa and James were getting closer to executing their plan. He had to act quickly. That afternoon, Rebecca brought a small voice recorder. "I want you to have this," she said. "We can use it to record any relevant conversations. It will be crucial." Michael nodded slightly, taking the device and discreetly hiding it under his pillow. He knew every word in detail counted. Every visit from Lisa and every conversation with James was an opportunity to gather more evidence. As the days passed, Michael found himself on an emotional roller coaster. Though his body was slowly strengthening, the mental and emotional pressure was constant. Pretending to be unconscious while listening to Lisa plan his future without him was psychological torture. The moments of solitude in his room felt endless and filled with dark thoughts. One afternoon, while staring at the ceiling, Michael remembered his mother's teachings. She always told him to be strong, to face adversities with courage. He remembered her words, "Life will test you, but never let it defeat you. Rise every time you fall." This memory gave him strength to keep going. Although despair sometimes overwhelmed him, the thought of fighting for what was his and exposing the betrayal gave him a spark of hope. Emily, the young nurse, continued to be a ray of light in his life. Unaware that Michael was conscious, she spoke to him every day, sharing stories and anecdotes that made him smile internally. Her words of encouragement and constant optimism were a balm for Michael's soul. She had no idea of the crucial role she was playing in his emotional recovery. One day, Emily arrived with a small potted plant. "I thought you'd like something green," she said, placing it on the table next to Michael's bed. Plants always make me feel better, like there's a bit of life and hope nearby." Michael looked at the plant, feeling an unexpected connection to it. It was a simple sign of life and resilience, something he himself was fighting to maintain. He moved his finger slightly, a silent thank you to Emily for her kindness. However, not all moments were comforting. There were days when frustration and anger threatened to overwhelm Michael. He felt trapped, powerless, unable to move or speak. These moments of anguish were the hardest to endure. One night, when the hospital was silent, Michael felt a deep despair. He wanted to scream, "Move! Do something!" to release the tension he felt. But he knew he had to stay in control. He took a deep breath, remembering his mother's teachings and Rebecca's words. He focused on his goal, using that determination as an anchor in the midst of the emotional storm. Rebecca continued to be his silent ally, supporting him every step of the way. Each time she visited his room, she whispered words of encouragement and reminded him they were close to achieving their goal. "Stay strong, Michael," she would say. "We're almost there. Soon this will all be over." Rebecca also shared some personal details, revealing she too had faced betrayals in her life. Her empathy and understanding were palpable, creating a strong bond between them. These moments of confidences not only strengthened their relationship, but also gave Michael a renewed perspective on resilience and hope. However, their conversation was interrupted by Lisa's arrival. She stormed into the room, her expression furious at seeing the nurse sitting beside Michael. "Mrs. Lisa." "Good evening," said Rebecca with a subtle tone. "Good evening. Excuse me. I didn't know you were here. Is there something wrong?" she asked, pretending concern. "I need a moment alone with Michael. It will be brief." "Sure, no problem," said Rebecca, leaving through the door. As she closed the door, Lisa made sure it was properly shut. It was her last move to secure her plan. Carefully, she approached Michael, thinking he was asleep, and spoke with finality. "Thank you for everything, my love. Now you can rest in peace, while I enjoy what is rightfully mine," she said, taking her purse and snapping a photo of his ID. Finally, she looked at him and said, "With this inheritance, I can go to Paris. You have no idea how much I appreciate it." After those words, Lisa left, and Rebecca re-entered the room. "Did you get any crucial information?" she asked. Michael pointedly opened his eyes and gave a slight smile, confirming. "Good. We're ready," said Rebecca. The following days were a mix of preparation and reflection. Michael continued to strengthen himself physically and mentally, ready for the confrontation that would change his life forever. He knew he had to stay strong, not only for himself, but for those who had supported him in his struggle. The hour of truth was approaching, and Michael was prepared to face it with all the strength and courage he could muster. The sun had barely risen when Michael woke up, aware that this day would mark a turning point in his life. Rebecca arrived early with a determined look in her eyes. "Today is the day, Michael," she whispered while checking his vital signs. "Everything is ready. Are you ready?" Michael moved his finger slightly, a sign of his determination. He knew today he would face Lisa and James, and the mix of nervousness and excitement kept him alert. Rebecca, with her usual care and efficiency, made sure everything was in order before the big confrontation. The lawyer arrived shortly after, reviewing the last details with Rebecca. "We have all the necessary evidence," he said quietly. "Lisa and James won't be able to escape this." Rebecca nodded and then turned to Michael. "The lawyer agrees to keep your condition secret for now. We're going to use it to our advantage." Michael moved his finger, indicating he understood. He knew continuing to pretend was essential at this point. A few hours later, Lisa arrived at the hospital, more impatient than usual, clearly anxious to see the results of her plans. James accompanied her, his expression equally tense. Rebecca and the lawyer waited for the right moment to act. Rebecca called Lisa and James to the hospital's conference room, under the pretext of discussing Michael's condition. "It's important that we're all present," she said, maintaining a professional tone. Lisa and James didn't suspect anything, and followed Rebecca without question. In the conference room, the lawyer presented several documents on the table. "This is Lisa. Mr. James," he began. "We've been reviewing some legal and financial matters that require your immediate attention." Lisa frowned but had no time to respond before the lawyer continued. "We have clear evidence of irregular financial movements and communications, indicating an attempt at fraud and conspiracy." Quote. James tried to protest, but the lawyer interrupted him. "Please stay calm. We're here to resolve this fairly. We have all the necessary evidence to proceed legally if needed." Lisa turned pale. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, trying to maintain her composure, but her voice betrayed her nervousness. Rebecca, who had remained silent until then, stepped forward. "Lisa, we've known all along what you were planning. Michael is conscious and has been listening to every word." The revelation hit like a bombshell. Lisa and James were left speechless, unable to process what they had just heard. "What? What are you saying?" Lisa stammered. Rebecca turned to the door. "Michael, it's time." With effort, Michael sat up and slowly entered the conference room, supported by Emily, who had been informed of the situation and was ready to help. Lisa's expression shifted from surprise to sheer panic. "Michael," she whispered, unable to find words. Michael, with a firm and determined look, faced her. "I've heard everything, Lisa. Every conversation, every plan. I knew you were betraying me, and I've gathered all the necessary evidence to ensure you don't get away with it." James tried to intervene. "This is ridiculous. You have no proof." The lawyer, with unshakable calm, placed a recorder on the table and pressed play. The voices of Lisa and James plotting Michael's demise and dividing his inheritance filled the room. There was no way to deny the evidence. Desperate now, Lisa made one last attempt to appeal to Michael. "Please, it's not what it seems. I just wanted the best for us." Michael looked at her with sadness. "All this time, I thought you loved me, but now I see who you really are." The lawyer intervened again. "Mr. Michael, we've prepared the necessary documents to protect your inheritance and properties. Lisa and James will face the legal consequences of their actions." Rebecca, Emily, and the lawyer escorted Michael back to his room, letting him rest after the confrontation. Although exhausted, Michael felt immense inner peace. He had faced betrayal and emerged victorious. In the following days, Lisa and James were arrested, making the case public, with an upcoming hearing where they would face the legal evidence and uncover the truth. Rebecca continued visiting Michael, helping him with his recovery. Their bond grew stronger, based on mutual trust and respect. Michael knew the road to complete recovery would be long, but he was ready to face it with Rebecca by his side. The day of revelation had been just the beginning. Michael had reclaimed his life and dignity and was determined to build a better future free of betrayals and filled with hope. The impact of the revelation had left Lisa and James reeling as the reality of their actions set in. Fear and desperation began to overtake them. While Michael rested in his room recovering his strength, the legal and medical team prepared for the next phase of the confrontation. Rebecca was in the lawyer's office discussing the final details of the case. "We have enough evidence to proceed," said the lawyer. "Lisa and James have no chance of escaping the legal consequences, but we need to ensure everything is in order for the hearing." Rebecca nodded. "Michael is determined to move forward. He has been through so much and deserves justice." Meanwhile, in Michael's room, Emily was adjusting his IV and checking his vital signs. "Today will be an important day," she said with a reassuring smile. "We're all here to support you." Michael, feeling stronger each day, nodded slightly. He knew the confrontation was crucial, not only for his own justice, but also to close a painful chapter of his life. He was ready to face Lisa and James once more, this time with the law on his side. The hearing was held in a hospital-adapted courtroom. The judge, a stern and fair-looking man, sat on the bench ready to hear testimonies and review the evidence. Lisa and James were present, their faces pale and nervous. Michael's lawyer presented the case with calm and precision, laying out all the evidence of conspiracy and fraud. "These recordings and financial documents clearly demonstrate the intent of Lisa and James to defraud Michael," said the lawyer, playing the recorded conversations and showing the suspicious bank transfers. "There is no doubt of their guilt." Lisa, trying to maintain her composure, attempted to defend herself. "Your Honor, this is a misunderstanding. I never intended to harm Michael. All of this has been taken out of context." The judge raised an eyebrow skeptically. "The evidence is quite clear, ma'am. Do you have anything else to say in your defense?" James, sensing the situation was desperate, decided to try another tactic. "Michael, please," he said, addressing him directly. "You know we've always been friends. This got out of hand. It wasn't our intention." Michael, with a steely expression on his face, looked at James and then at Lisa. "I thought I could trust you, but all you did was betray me and plan my destruction. There are no excuses for what you did." The judge, seeing Michael's firmness, nodded. "I've heard enough arguments. The evidence presented is overwhelming. I declare Lisa and James guilty of fraud and conspiracy." Lisa let out a choked sob, while James closed his eyes in resignation. The judge continued. "I sentence them to face the legal consequences of their actions. Additionally, I order that all of Michael's properties and assets be protected and transferred according to his wishes." With that declaration, the room fell silent. Lisa and James were escorted out by the authorities, while Michael felt a mix of relief and sadness. Justice had prevailed, but the emotional cost had been high. Rebecca and Emily approached Michael, offering their support. "You did it, Michael," Rebecca said softly. "Now you can begin to heal and build a new life." In the following days, Michael focused on his recovery. With Rebecca's help and Emily's constant support, he began to regain his strength and spirit. He knew the path ahead wouldn't be easy, but he was determined to face it with courage and hope. Michael found solace in the idea that, despite the betrayal and pain, he had emerged stronger and wiser. He knew that with Rebecca's help and his inner resources, he was ready to face any challenge life threw at him. The confrontation had been a crucial step in his journey toward redemption and recovery. Now, with justice on his side, he was ready to build a future full of hope and possibilities. Lisa and James faced the legal repercussions of their actions. They were prosecuted, and with the overwhelming evidence against them, they couldn't avoid being convicted. The news of their arrest spread quickly, and public opinion condemned them as well. Their reputations were shattered, along with any hope of rebuilding their lives honorably. Michael, on the other hand, began to take control of his life and his businesses. With the lawyer's help, he reviewed and reinforced all the necessary measures to ensure no further attempts at fraud could occur. Although the process was exhausting, it also served as a form of therapy for him. Each step he took to protect his assets was a step toward regaining his autonomy and confidence. During this time, Rebecca became a constant presence in Michael's life, not only as his doctor, but also as his confidant and friend. Her daily visits turned into long conversations about life, Michael's past, and his plans for the future. The bond between them grew stronger with each passing day. One afternoon, while Rebecca was reviewing Michael's latest medical results, she said, Your progress is impressive, Michael. You're recovering much faster than I expected. Michael smiled, feeling more optimistic than he had in a long time. Thanks to you and Emily. I don't know what I would have done without you. Rebecca looked at him seriously. It's you who has done the hard work, Michael. We've just been here to support you. Meanwhile, in a cold prison cell, Lisa sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the floor. The noise of the guards and other prisoners faded into the background as her thoughts engulfed her. James, in the adjacent cell, watched her through the bars, noticing the tension in her shoulders and the lost look in her eyes. After a long silence, James decided to break the calm. Lisa, how did we get here? He asked, with a tone of voice that mixed incredulity and desperation. How did we ruin everything? Lisa looked up, her expression hardened by anger and denial. It's not our fault, James, she replied firmly. This is all Michael's fault. He put us in this situation. If he hadn't been so naive, we wouldn't be here. James frowned. Do you really believe that? We were the ones who planned to take his inheritance. We were the ones who betrayed him. We can't blame Michael for our decisions. Lisa stood up abruptly, pacing back and forth in her cell. You don't understand, James. Michael was always the problem. He always had everything and never cared about how he made us feel. We were just trying to get what we deserved. James sighed, feeling the weight of reality on his shoulders. Lisa, we made a mistake. We betrayed someone who trusted us. That's the truth you can't accept. Lisa crossed her arms, her expression defiant. The truth is relative, James. And my truth is that Michael betrayed us first by being so blind and trusting. We just acted accordingly. James shook his head, knowing there was no way to change Lisa's perspective. Well, I suppose everyone has their way of seeing things, but I know we made a grave mistake, and for my part, I'll accept the consequences. Lisa turned to him, her gaze cold. Do whatever you want, James, but I won't give up. I'll find a way to get out of here and reclaim what is mine. James sighed, feeling the growing distance between them. I hope one day you can see the truth, Lisa, because until you do, you'll remain a prisoner of your own mistakes. As the hours passed in the cold cell, Lisa clung to her version of reality, unable to accept responsibility for her actions. James, on the other hand, began to reflect on his decisions and the consequences they had brought. He knew the path to redemption would be long and difficult, but he was willing to face it. In that moment, Lisa began to reflect on her life with Michael. Lisa and Michael had been an enviable couple, or so it seemed from the outside. Their story began years ago, when they were both young and full of dreams. On a sunny afternoon, in a park near the university where they both studied, Michael was sitting on a bench reading an economics book, while Lisa was walking her dog, a small golden retriever named Max. Max, being a curious dog, slipped from his leash and ran straight to Michael, knocking the book from his hands. Max, come back here, shouted Lisa, running after her mischievous dog. Michael, surprised but amused, picked up the book and Max's collar. Looks like someone has a lot of energy, he said, looking at Lisa with a smile. Lisa, a bit embarrassed, smiled back. I'm so sorry. Max is always causing trouble. No problem, Michael replied, petting the dog. In fact, it's a good way to meet new people. And so their friendship began. Lisa and Michael started meeting more often in the park, talking about their studies, dreams, and aspirations. Michael was a dedicated student, focused on building a solid career. Lisa, on the other hand, studied art and had a more bohemian outlook on life. Their differences, instead of separating them, complemented each other. One night, after one of their usual walks with Max, Michael invited Lisa to dinner. I found a small Italian restaurant I think you'd love, he said, his eyes shining with excitement. Lisa accepted, and that night became one of the most memorable of their lives. Between laughter and deep conversations, they realized there was something special between them. Lisa loved Michael's passion for his work and his clear vision of the future. Michael, in turn, was fascinated by Lisa's creativity and free spirit. Over time, their friendship turned into love. Michael asked Lisa to be his girlfriend during a romantic dinner under the stars in the same park where they had met. I can't imagine my life without you, he said, his voice filled with emotion. Will you be my partner? Lisa, with tears of happiness in her eyes, responded with a resounding yes. From that moment on, they were inseparable. They shared countless happy moments, from spontaneous trips to the beach to quiet nights at home watching movies and dreaming about the future. Michael supported Lisa in her artistic projects, attending all her exhibitions and celebrating her achievements. Lisa, in turn, stood by his side through all his professional milestones, encouraging him and providing the emotional support he needed. A few years later, Michael proposed to Lisa during a trip to Paris under the Eiffel Tower, with the city's lights shining around them. Michael knelt and took out a ring. "Lisa, you are the love of my life. Will you marry me and share all our future together?" Lisa, her heart full of joy, accepted without hesitation. They married in an intimate ceremony, surrounded by family and friends. It was a day filled with love and promises of a bright future. The marriage between Michael and Lisa began with promises of eternal love and shared dreams. However, as the years passed, daily life and external pressures began to erode the foundation of their relationship. After their wedding, Michael and Lisa returned to their lives in the city. Michael, ambitious and determined, immersed himself deeply in his work. His days were filled with meetings, business trips, and long hours at the office. Although his professional success grew, the time he spent with Lisa dwindled significantly. Lisa, on the other hand, had put her artistic career on hold to support Michael and manage household responsibilities. At first, she was happy to do so, believing her sacrifices were for the good of their marriage and future together. But as time went on, she began to feel isolated and undervalued. One afternoon, while Michael was reviewing some documents in his study, Lisa approached with a smile. "Would you like to go out to dinner tonight? There's a new restaurant I'd love to try." Michael, without looking up from his papers, responded distractedly, "Sorry, Lisa. I have a lot of work. Maybe another time." This response, repeated countless times, dampened Lisa's spirits. The romantic dinners and nights of laughter became a vague memory. Instead, Lisa spent many evenings alone, wondering if they would ever rekindle the spark that had brought them together. Lisa's loneliness led her to seek solace in other activities. She returned to her art, but the passion was no longer the same. Her works reflected her frustration and sadness, something Michael, absorbed in his business world, failed to notice. The emotional distance between them grew wider and wider. Arguments became more frequent. "Why do you always have time for your work but never for us?" Lisa asked, her voice filled with desperation. "I'm doing this for us, Lisa, to secure our future," Michael responded, not understanding that what Lisa needed was not financial security, but his presence and attention. One day, in the midst of one of their frequent arguments, Michael received an urgent call from his business partner, James. "I'm sorry, but I have to go," Michael said, leaving Lisa alone once again. James, who had been a close friend of Michael since their university days, began to notice Lisa's discontent. Taking advantage of her vulnerability, he started getting closer to her, offering a sympathetic ear and a constant presence. "I understand what you're going through," James would say, his voice soft and stunning. "Michael is so busy with his work that he doesn't realize what he's losing." James's words resonated with Lisa, who felt increasingly lonely and misunderstood. They began spending more time together, first as friends and then as something more. James filled the void Michael had left, and Lisa, in her desperation, started trusting him more than she should have. The relationship with James became a release valve for Lisa, offering her the attention and support she felt she lacked in her marriage. As their connection deepened, James began planting seeds of distrust and resentment towards Michael. "Why do you keep putting up with this, Lisa? You deserve to be happy," James would say, slowly poisoning her thoughts. Consumed by bitterness and the betrayal she felt, Lisa began plotting with James how they could take Michael's inheritance and businesses. In her mind, she justified her actions as an act of justice. "Michael never valued me, never realized what he had until it was too late. Now, I'm just taking what's rightfully mine." Their conversations became increasingly sinister, plotting how to get rid of Michael and divide his assets. Blinded by rage and resentment, Lisa failed to see the severity of what they were planning. She believed her pain justified her actions. The betrayal culminated when Michael had the accident that left him in a coma. Instead of worrying about his well-being, Lisa saw an opportunity. With James's help, she started moving funds and planning how to take everything. Lisa convinced herself she was doing the right thing. "He never valued me, never realized what he had until it was too late. I'm just taking what's mine by right." The combination of James's ambition and Lisa's bitterness created a perfect storm that led them to commit acts of betrayal they never would have imagined at the beginning of their relationship. Meanwhile, Michael, in his unconscious state, had no idea of the machinations unfolding around him, but, as revealed earlier, his awakening and Rebecca's help disrupted Lisa and James's plans, leading them to face the consequences of their actions. The story of Lisa and Michael is a tragedy of how a lack of communication and emotional neglect can destroy a relationship, leading it to a point of no return. Though they both started with love and promises of a future together, the decisions they made and the circumstances they faced led them down a path of destruction and betrayal. Having remembered all their beginnings, tears began to well up in Lisa's eyes as she recalled James. She remembered how he had taken advantage of her vulnerability, offering the attention and support she felt Michael had denied her. As the tears continued to fall, Lisa felt a deep sadness for the harm she had caused Michael. "I'm sorry," she whispered to the empty air. "I'm so sorry for everything I did. I never wanted it to end like this." In the midst of her crying, Lisa realized that the only way to find any peace was to fully accept responsibility for her actions. She knew the path to redemption would be long and difficult, but she also knew she couldn't continue living in denial. That night, as the tears finally dried and exhaustion overcame her, Lisa made a silent promise. She vowed to face her mistakes, accept the consequences of her actions, and somehow try to find a path to forgiveness, starting with forgiving herself. Lisa fell asleep on the cold floor of her cell, embraced by the solitude, but with a new determination in her heart. She knew she could never undo the past, but she could try to build a future where her mistakes wouldn't define who she was. Far from the prison, Michael continued his recovery, surrounded by Rebecca's support and his new life. Although the emotional scars would take time to heal, he knew he had taken control of his destiny and was determined to live with integrity and purpose. Finally, he could breathe easy, free from the legal processes and with his inheritance protected. Michael decided to focus on something much more personal, enjoying life and sharing his fortune with those who had supported him during his darkest moments. One afternoon, while walking through the hospital garden with Rebecca, Michael expressed his thoughts. "I've spent so much time worrying about protecting what's mine and dealing with betrayal that I forgot what really matters: enjoying life and being with people who matter." Rebecca, with a warm smile, nodded. "You're right, Michael. You've worked hard and deserve to enjoy your inheritance in the company of people who truly care about you." Michael decided it was time to celebrate life and second chances. His first step was to organize a grand thank you party at his home, inviting everyone who had helped him during his recovery. Emily, Rebecca, the lawyer, and other close friends and family gathered for an evening celebrating not only his victory, but also life and friendship. Michael's house, once filled with shadows and painful memories, now resonated with laughter and lively conversations. The garden transformed into a gathering place filled with lights and soft music, creating a cozy and festive atmosphere. Surrounded by people who cared about him, Michael felt more alive than ever. During the party, Michael made a toast, raising his glass with gratitude. "I want to thank all of you for standing by me during the darkest times of my life. Without your support, I don't know how I would have made it. This celebration is for all of us." Emily approached Michael after the toast. "You are an inspiration, Michael. I'm so happy to see you enjoying life again." Michael smiled and hugged her. "I couldn't have done it without you, Emily. Your kindness and care were crucial to my recovery." After the ceremony, Michael found himself in a park, recalling the early days of his marriage with Lisa. The happy moments and promises of eternal love now seemed like distant, almost unreal memories. "How did we get here?" he wondered aloud, feeling a mix of sadness and resignation. He knew he couldn't solely blame Lisa. He also had to accept his part in the deterioration of their relationship. The long workdays, the nights he came home late, and the times he had put his professional ambitions above his marriage. He remembered how, over time, he had stopped paying attention to Lisa's emotional needs, convinced that his professional success was enough to ensure their happiness together. "I was so focused on building a secure future," he reflected, "that I forgot the most important thing was the present, being there for her." He recalled the arguments, the times Lisa had tried to reach out, and he had turned her away, busy with his projects and meetings. He remembered her expression of sadness and disappointment, a look he had overlooked too many times. As the memories flooded his mind, Michael felt a pang of guilt. I should have listened. I should have been more present, he thought. Lisa didn't need more money or security. She needed her husband, her partner. However, as he reflected, Michael also realized that holding on to guilt wouldn't change the past. I can't undo what happened, he told himself, but I can learn from it. Michael looked up, observing the sun slowly setting behind the trees, bathing the landscape in a warm golden glow. He understood that he had the opportunity to start anew, to live a full and meaningful life. The past is full of lessons, he thought, and those lessons have brought me here. I've gone through pain and betrayal, but I've also found a new perspective and new hopes. He remembered Rebecca, his doctor and now close friend, who had been by his side during his recovery. Her constant support and ability to listen had helped him heal both physically and emotionally. Michael's new life had given him a second chance, not only to rebuild himself, but also to help others. He set the coffee cup on the table and stood up, breathing in the fresh evening air. He promised himself he wouldn't let the past define his future. There was too much to live for, too many experiences to enjoy, and too many people to help. With a lighter heart and a clearer mind, Michael re-entered the cabin, ready to move forward. He knew the road ahead wouldn't always be easy, but he also knew he was prepared to face it with courage and gratitude. Life had taught him valuable lessons, and he was determined to apply those lessons to build a future filled with love, hope, and purpose. Michael had found his way and was ready to enjoy every step of the journey. The following days were filled with activities and adventures Michael had postponed for too long. With Rebecca by his side, they explored the city, enjoying dinners at elegant restaurants, walks in parks, and visits to museums. Every moment together strengthened their bond and allowed them to enjoy life without worries. One weekend, Michael organized a beach trip for his closest friends and family. He rented a beautiful villa by the sea, where everyone could relax and enjoy the sun and sand. The laughter and games on the beach, outdoor dinners, and conversations under the stars created unforgettable memories for everyone. One afternoon, while watching the sunset from the villa terrace, Michael took Rebecca's hand. "This is the beginning of something new for me," he said. "I want to keep exploring the world, enjoying what life has to offer, and I'd love for you to be by my side." Rebecca, her eyes shining, replied, "Nothing would make me happier. We've been through so much together, and I'm ready for whatever adventure comes our way." Emily, approaching with 2 fresh coconuts, joined the conversation. "I can't wait to see what else the future holds. This trip has been incredible, and I'm so grateful to be part of it." Michael raised his coconut in an impromptu toast to new adventures, friendship, and love. "May we always find joy in each moment." The vacation in Hawaii was a resounding success, a time of healing, joy, and rediscovery. Michael realized that although he had suffered betrayals and challenges, life still had much to offer him. With Rebecca and Emily by his side, he felt ready to face whatever the future brought, confident that true wealth lay in human connections and shared moments. Returning from Hawaii, Michael was filled with energy and optimism. He had learned to value each day and appreciate the blessings life had given him. With Rebecca and Emily by his side, he was ready for any adventure the future might bring, knowing that together they could face any challenge and find happiness in each step of the journey. Returning from the idyllic Hawaiian vacation, Michael felt his life had come full circle. The shared experiences with Rebecca and Emily, along with the paradise landscapes, had left an indelible mark on his heart. He was ready to close a chapter of his life and begin a new one, full of hope and possibilities. One afternoon, while relaxing in his garden, Michael decided to host an intimate dinner with the people who had been crucial in his recovery journey. Under a starry sky and surrounded by the fragrant flowers in his garden, Michael, Rebecca, and Emily gathered for one last celebration of friendship, love, and resilience. During the dinner, Michael took a moment to reflect on everything he had been through. He raised his glass and looked at his friends with a smile full of gratitude. "I want to thank both of you for being by my side during the darkest moments of my life. Without your support, I don't know how I would have made it." Rebecca, with a warm smile, responded, "Michael, it has been an honor to be with you on this journey. You have shown incredible strength and have inspired us all." Emily nodded. "You are an example of resilience and courage, Michael. I'm so grateful to have been a part of your life." Michael felt moved by their words. I've learned so much during this time. The betrayals of Lisa and James were painful, but they also taught me something valuable. The importance of true human connections. Sometimes you need to go through the fire to discover what really matters. Rebecca took Michael's hand. That's true. Through difficulties, we find the strength to keep going and value moments of happiness more, Emily added. And we also learn to surround ourselves with people who truly care about us. That's the real wealth. Michael nodded, feeling a deep inner peace. I've realized that life isn't just about material wealth, but about shared experiences and meaningful relationships. My inheritance isn't just money, but also the lessons learned and the moments lived with you. Rebecca smiled. Let's keep creating memories together, Michael. The future is full of possibilities. Emily raised her glass in a final toast. To the future, to friendship, and to love. May we always find joy in each day. The dinner continued with laughter and pleasant conversations, each of them appreciating the simplicity and beauty of being together. As the candles slowly burned out, Michael felt more grateful than ever for second chances and for the people who had helped him rediscover life. Later, while walking through the garden with Rebecca, Michael stopped to gaze at the stars. Rebecca, he said softly, I found the peace and happiness I was looking for. Thank you for being by my side every step of the way. Rebecca looked at him tenderly. I'll always be here, Michael. We've overcome so much together, and I'm excited for what the future holds. Michael smiled, knowing that no matter what challenges came, he had Rebecca and Emily by his side. Life had taught him that although darkness sometimes came, there was always light at the end of the tunnel. With each new day came a new opportunity to find joy and meaning. As he re-entered his home, Michael felt a profound sense of fulfillment. He had transformed his life, not only surviving the trials he had faced, but also finding purpose and a new way to live. With Rebecca by his side and Emily as a steadfast friend, Michael was ready to face anything life brought, knowing he had found the true meaning of wealth in human connections, love, and the joy of living each day to the fullest. The story of Michael, Lisa, and Rebecca is a testament to the complexities of love, betrayal, and redemption. It highlights how the decisions we make and the actions we take can have profound and lasting repercussions on our lives and those around us. Love is a powerful force, but also fragile. It requires care, attention, and, above all, communication. In his relationship with Lisa, Michael focused so much on providing and securing a financial future that he neglected the emotional needs and daily connection that kept their relationship alive. Lisa, feeling ignored and undervalued, allowed resentment and bitterness to cloud her judgment, leading her to destructive decisions. Michael's journey toward recovery and his relationship with Rebecca underscore the importance of learning from past mistakes. It shows that although the path to redemption can be painful, it's possible to find peace and happiness by facing our failures and actively working to improve. And so ends the story of Michael, Lisa, and Rebecca, a journey of love, betrayal, and redemption, where true wealth was found in human connections and the lessons learned along the way. Here on Karma's Twists, we share the most impactful stories of karma and justice that the world needs to see. Don't miss a single moment of good triumphing over evil. Join our community and subscribe. Be part of the movement that believes justice always wins.